Okay, so the one that we're going to cover today is your classic hamstring strain. We've all had this before. Everyone that's ever been involved with any type of sports felt this before. You're running down the track, boom, hamstring goes. You feel it. It's a hammy, baby. If you are a athletic trainer, a coach, a personal trainer, an athlete, anyone that's ever dealt with this stuff knows exactly what it feels like, and they tend to self-diagnose. So this video today is not for the clinician. This is for you. You're at home. You strained your hamstring and you need to know more about it. This just happened to a patient of mine that I saw about an hour ago, and I kind of want to explain what I went through with them because I think it's going to make it very obvious and evident for you. So the first thing I said is when I got in there and kind of did the exam, the patient told me they were running 100-meter sprints, very common at the beginning of the year. They wanted to get in shape, and they felt their hamstring go. It was a strain. It wasn't horrible. It didn't like send them all the way to the ground, although it can. It didn't. It's a grade 1. Now it's 4 days later. He's still very, very sore, and things just aren't getting better. So what I told him is, I get in there and kind of check the stuff out. I'm like, I agree with your diagnosis. You have a classic hamstring strain. However, the treatments for this issue have greatly changed. This is no longer the treatments of the 1990s and 1980s and early 2000s, nor especially is it the treatments of the early 80s and early 70s and that kind of stuff. So let's get with the modern era. This is why I've created this entire website, and this is why I wanted to bring the hamstring up to you so you can figure it out, because it's one of the things that I see that we're doing a lot wrong. Well, the first thing I explain to this guy is in the sports world, we will often diagnose the hamstring as a long stretch or a fast stretch. Now, it makes a lot of sense when I whip out an old ACE bandage. You're running down the track, your hamstring's going back and forth, and boom, there's your hamstring strain. A long stretch or a fast stretch. That's the mechanism of injury, or what we call the MOI. And understanding that one thing will change the way you work on this, because the classic way of working on a hamstring is stretching a hamstring out. Let me take you back to my era. It's the early 2000s. Olympians are running down the track. Boom, hamstring goes out. The trainers would rush out, especially the ones from all the other countries with all their cool gear, and they'd immediately start stretching them. They got their moment on TV and it was huge and they did their job. The trouble is athletes didn't get better at the rate they should have. I think the stretching actually kind of slowed down the recovery. And let's make it make sense. If the injury is a fast stretch, why would you want to put more stretch into it? Well, how did this ever come to be? If we've all known about the fast stretch, it's not new. Why were we stretching that? Well, here's why. Because when you do anything to a muscle, especially a monster like the hamstring or the low back muscles or the glute or the calves, whenever you do anything to that muscle, it brings a lot of blood to the area. Blood feels very good. It's warming, it's healthy, it brings all the nutrients, it's speeding up everything. The theory, the hypothesis all made sense. The trouble is that's not what stage they were at yet. That thing was injured, long stretch, and acute. It has inflammation. And now we're doing the opposite of what we want to do. We're bringing more blood to the area. It's creating more inflammation, and the body's response, or what we're using in the new modern sports era, your body's response was on threat. And when the body is on threat, basically what it's saying to the brain is, oh crap, something's wrong. There's even more inflammation than there was earlier. Let's lock it all down tight. Hamstring's kind of unique. Sometimes it locks down long, eccentric. Sometimes it locks down short, concentric. But either way, it's throwing off our information. We have put an additional threat into an injury, and the body's responding the way it knows how. Locking everything down so you can't move fast, you can't re-injure it. So let's stop that. My number one rule for you guys at home with an acute low-grade hamstring issue, stop stretching. Stop stretching, because it's just slowing down how fast it gets better. In fact, my patient that just left here, I had him doing the opposite. Grab your hamstring with your hand. Now slowly bend your knee and make that thing contract. Let's start getting that muscle tension back into the right area. I didn't say go load up 400 pounds on a hamstring curl and sit there at the gym and just crank it as hard as you can. See if we can make it stronger. You're not at the stronger stage yet. You're at the injury stage. We want to shorten the muscle, put it back in the right tension, take the threat off the hamstring. The number two thing, I would avoid heat. My era was also very big at let's use ice for 48 to 24 hours, and it typically was like 2 hours. because it doesn't feel as good. Then let's go to heat, or go back and forth from heat and then just go to heat. And I just don't like it. The better way of looking at the body is if you are inflamed, you want to treat it like it's inflamed. You want an anti-inflammatory environment. So if you're a pro level athlete, your nutrition better be tight, man, because if your nutrition's off, you're in a chronic body-wide inflammation. It's also why I still recommend ice. I know sometimes people look at me when I do my lectures like, oh, the dude's really old school, he's still doing ice. I do ice because it's inflamed. If you pop an Advil or Aleve and some sort of anti-inflammatory and it feels better, if you're in the physio world, we all use Voltaren, right? I mean, that stuff is used all the time. If you're using that and it makes the issue better, that's a clue. Something's inflamed. Why would we do pro-inflammatory stuff like stretching, heating, long massage, getting those vibration guns and just hammer it for 100 hours? It's ridiculous. Treat it like it's inflamed, let the thing get better. How long does the inflammation last? It depends. Depends on how big the injury is, depends on the guy's nutritional status. There's a lot. But I would say this idea of like everyone just, wow, 24 to 48 hours, it's ridiculous. There had guys in the professional levels of sports, they may be inflamed season-wide, right? No one's really getting 100% better on that stuff. So we may be using ice much more. So get those two issues. The stretching is kind of out on this, and treat it like it's inflamed. I think you're gonna see it a lot better. Now, this particular page that you guys are at, this video is for the patient, the client, the runner, the triathlete, the athlete that's got it. If you're a practitioner and you want to see my workups and my protocols and how we do some stuff, then that's another one, right? I'll still have the hamstring issue, but we're going to look at it more from a practitioner because there are some other things out there, guys. In the sports world now, we like to use the terms upregulation or downregulation. Upregulation means we're trying to turn a muscle back on. In this case, a long stretch, huge issue to the brain, we want to use upregulation. So getting in there with the metal tools and just scraping on this till you're black and blue and cranking on it would be down-regulatory. That would be the opposite of what we want to do, so we want to upregulate. So if you want more information on that, go to the practitioner's page. But on that page, it's a little bit tougher because I'm assuming you guys know your stuff already or are looking for kind of the new part of it. Now, let's go back to you guys as a client. You have this. Why would the guy come to the chiropractor with this? Well, one is I do a lot of sports injuries, so I'm good with this stuff. But the other part is I still am cool with being a chiropractor. I'm still cool with athletic trainers that mobilize. If you can get to a professional, and I don't care what their job title is, but they can mobilize. Imagine that my thumbs are two different bones and the muscle goes between there. And one bone is in this position and one bone is in this position. That muscle is elongated, right? It's not in the correct position. If I can put those joints back in the right position, it makes the muscle happy. It speeds up recovery. It decreases the time that it would take to get better. So it's just another one of those injuries. You guys are going to see a ton of this stuff on this page. And I don't mean to be just some guy standing in front of a blue wall and words pop up. But the whole idea of chadknows, the YouTube channel, and the drchadbuters.com is to give you guys better information. I like to try to turn anything into a very simple explanation. You got it. Hamstrings are now a long stretch. It's simple. Don't stretch it, contract it. Don't heat it. Don't massage it, ice it, get the inflammation down so you start to get to the next stage. But without the explanation, it's not simple. It's just a bunch of people doing different stuff. If you were to YouTube search hamstring strains, I'm sure there's going to be a million other videos on there, and I would guess 99% of them would say the exact opposite of what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I do this in the clinic all the time. I do this with athletes. There's a reason for why we do it, and when I explain the reason, it all makes pretty much sense. All right, the next part on this thing is how we're going to get into the return to play, because a hamstring is not a muscle that you just want to sit out. If someone is telling you, hey, you've got a partial strain, or look, you'll even hear it called a partial tear. Let's get into that for a second. It is a partial tear. It's just scary to call it that. As clinicians, we can choose what verbiage we use. If you came into my clinic, I'm going to say, hey man, you strained your hammy. It's a grade 1 hammy strain. If you go to a clinician that wants to sound scary and sound more medical and they say, hey, it's a partial tear of your hamstring muscle, dude, this is huge, you could be out forever. Look at a partial strain, a partial tear is like this. It's getting stretched out, and if I could get in there close enough, you'd be able to see there's some runs in there like pantyhose. That's a partial tear, right? Why use scary terms? a grade 1 strain is a partial tear, but let's not call it that for our athletes. Just hearing the word tear, it's instantly gonna make this last longer. All right, we got the tear on there. Let's call it something nicer, better terminology. Return to play. Hamstrings, you don't just wanna sit out. If your advice is, hey, you strained your hamstring running some hundreds, you're still able to walk around, there's no grapefruit-sized ball in the back of your hamstring. Now, if there is, then you go get some help. Go have someone tell you what they've got going on. But if you just got a typical low-grade strain, 6 weeks of rest is insanity on this. Stop the insanity. What you want to do is return to play. And so the return to play that I have on my website that I'll go back to over and over and over again is pretty much developed like what would happen at the upper elite levels of sports. Okay, so to make this make sense, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start your return to play at day 1, and we're gonna do a 6-day criteria to get you back to 100%. You're gonna start day 1 at 50%. So like this kid that came in here today was running 100 meters, and he was gonna run 8 of them. He is now gonna run his same 100 meters, but he's gonna run 4 of them. 50%. He's also, if he was at a 14 to 15 second pace, he's now going to go 28 to 30 seconds. Very, very easy. 400 meters at 28 seconds for him is basically a walk. Good. See how you feel the next day. If you wake up and you're no worse, you're okay to progress to stage 2, which is 65%. And the steps go 50%, 65, 75, 85, 95. By day 6, you're able to get to 100%. How it works in the real world, if you're a star athlete or at a high level college or someone doing stuff the right way, let's take a football team. I was a football player, we'll just use a football player. What would happen is this guy strains his hamstring. He still goes to practice on Monday, but he wears a different colored jersey. He has on a penny. So now he's wearing this green jersey. The other players on the team know, hey, don't go jack this guy in practice, even if we're going full speed, because he's not 100%. The jersey makes the reminder for them. It also helps the coaches when they're reviewing the film say, hey, why was Chad out of position on that play? Oh yeah, he's got the green jacket on, he's got the penny, he's not 100%, but at least he's out there getting reps and he's moving around like he's supposed to. You guys use the same idea. You are putting it on a penny and you are now training at 50%. If you pass, you move to 65%. If you pass that day, you move to 75%. Now let's say you get to 75% and it's still achy. You wake up the next day and you're like, man, that probably wasn't a good idea. It wasn't, you weren't ready for that yet. Back down to 65%, do another workout or 2 at 65%, and then you're gonna graduate to 75. Now you have a plan. That sounds very simple, but that's not the reality. The reality is, if you're like me, if you're like triathletes and marathoners and football players and CrossFitters, basically you're either injured or you're 100%, right? So I'm gonna go do my first 100 meters on my return to play at 28 seconds. And I'm like, dude, this is super easy. Let's lock it up. I'm gonna go 100%, bang, pull my hammy again. I'm right back to where I was, but I'm not. I'm actually more injured than I was prior. We're setting ourselves backwards. So you have to get it in your head that I am not out for the season. I'm not out for 6 weeks. I just want a decent return to play. Now, if you are a competitive athlete, especially the high school, college stage, professional levels, you're going to have help with this. You have to use your athletic trainers and your coaches for this because you may not get to the 100% and you still have to play. That's not for me to teach you on a website. That's for you to get in the hands of professionals and let them do their stuff. But if you're just out there trying to give yourself this 6-day return to play, you are gonna see a much stronger response. No matter what I do as a clinician to make you feel better, we strained muscle fibers. No matter what we do, it takes time for the muscle fibers to get back healed and get solid enough for increased intensity. Give your body the time. Rest doesn't work because rest doesn't give it enough tension to have the need to heal. It's basically just the time's gone. You may get some scar tissue, you may get some buildup, you may get it where it doesn't hurt anymore and you feel you're good, but there hasn't been any demand for the muscle to get stronger in that area. So I'm very, very big on return to play. On all of my injuries that you're gonna see in my office, we're gonna talk about return to play. So I hope you guys get it. It's the new stuff that's out there. I know it kind of drags on. It's just me talking from a whiteboard here, but we're basically going, we're not stretching anymore. We're not using a ton of heat. We're going to ice to get the inflammation stage out, and we are going to, as soon as possible, start a return to play criteria with a 6-step progression mimicking what would be happening at the top levels. I hope you guys get this. I hope you love this. I hope this is new information. Actually, I don't. I hope it's not new information for you. I hope this is how you guys have been doing it. But if you're still doing the old school stand and stretch, and I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds, then release it, do it for another 10 seconds, let's get with the modern times. There's a better way to do this. Like the kid that just came in an hour ago, I told him, man, we're going to have you right back in 5 to 6 days. I'm probably going to see you a couple times. We are going to have you ready to rock. This is not a life changer. It's not the end of your New Year's resolutions. You're still going to go do your Tough Mudder in a couple months. It's no problem. Get the hamstring deal. If you guys are professionals and you want to see how we would work this up in the clinic and some different things we would do, how we would do the up regulation, how we would do the down regulation, the way we would use the tools, the way we'd use the hypervolt guns, the way we'd use some of the taping, I have that on the practitioner side. Anyway, guys, this is what I'm wanting to create with this website. I hope you love it, and I hope you learned a lot today. Hey guys, Dr. Chad Peters back here again. If you like that content, if you like the way I deliver this stuff, or if you have questions about what was on, don't hesitate. Comment below and go through. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what you disagree with. Let's have a conversation. The entire idea with this is that we all get better when we start discussing things. I'll see you soon.